It looked to me that he never really wanted to come back into the game, even with Broja on. It looked like it was such a passive afternoon from Potter. Had no idea pre-match. And again, I said to you off air, I don't understand what the game plan was and how he thought he could hurt Arsenal, because there was just nothing that Chelsea did with the ball that indicated that. And then at 1-0 down, it looked even worse, because everything he did made no sense whatsoever. And there was no reaction.
I want to reiterate this going forward. I am a Potter believer. I think this is somebody
I want him to do well too.
Needs to, not just I want him to do well. I believe he can do well.
Yeah, me too.
If he is afforded the necessary time doing what he's done, doing what made him great, which is not playing midweek football, which is, you don't have that luxury at Chelsea. So that means you have to necessarily give him more time. And the other mitigating factor, like I've said before, is Chelsea had a horrendous, for all the money that, in relation to the money spent, they had an absolutely horrendous summer transfer campaign.
But what made that transfer campaign more horrendous is that you decided to start the season with Tuchel instead of sacking him on day one. They knew. On day one, Todd Brady knew he could not work with Thomas Tuchel. There's no, don't give me the 100 days, period to see where we are, and then we make a decision. From day one, they knew. So from day one, you sack him, you bring him Graham Potter. He has the preseason that he wants. He does the fitness work that he wants. He does the set piece work that he wants. He signed the players that he wants. And you don't have now a manager who have half of a squad that he doesn't want, half of a squad that doesn't fit his philosophy. Clearly a fitness issue, I think. Like every new manager who come in and say they're not fit enough. They're not ready. I don't know why they all say that. And you're not in this situation where you're thinking but the timing of the Tuchel sacking was so bad that the whole handling of the situation was terrible from the beginning.
So this leads me to my next point, going forward, right? Because Chelsea spent an enormous amount of money over the last few years, going back to Abramovich, and I want to be boring with financial fair play. They spent a ton again, obviously, this past summer. Mm-hmm. Financial fair play is effective this season. From next year, we're going to move to the new version of financial sustainability regulations. I think as smart as Big Dolly and Bowley say they are and are generating revenue and blah, 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 this could hurt them. This could really hurt them unless they do what has enabled Chelsea to not fall foul of financial fair play all these years, which is selling very, very well, selling homegrown youngsters well. But I look at this now. You mentioned the center forward, right? Aubameyang is not Chelsea's long-term center forward, right? We all agree on that, right? Yeah. Kai Havertz may not be a center forward at all. Yeah. But they have money tied up in Kai Havertz. They have money tied up in Aubameyang. They have money tied up in Romelu Lukaku, who is going back. And they have Armando Broja. The easiest way to resolve this is, just sell Armando Broja for money, which is not what you want to do. No. Presumably, you want to find out if he can play. That's just one example. In midfield, in the middle of the park, right? Kova's not getting younger. I don't know that we'll see N'Golo Kante again.
He's out of contract.
He's out of contract anyway. Jorginho's out of contract. Loftus-Cheek, I don't know.
Come on. Let's be serious here.
Again, I think because you're big and you're technically proficient, which Loftus-Cheek is, there's probably a player in there. But I think he needs a lot of individualized care and whatever to make it contribute.
I think this level is too high for him. Right, I like him. So go down outside top 6 and have a really good career. It's okay. Not everybody can play for Chelsea Football Club. At the top, at their best, and being consistently good. Not everybody is. This is one of the best clubs in the world. Go to an Everton or an Aston Villa and have fun and be good, and that's your level.
You could argue that defensively as well, despite signing all those center backs this summer, they're going to have an issue as well because Thiago Silva's not getting any younger, because Koulibaly's not getting any younger. It doesn't seem to be...
Yeah, you still have a few good years with Koulibaly, and then you've got Fofana. And if you believe in Chalobah,
if Fofana is ever fit again...
James, Chilwell.
Yeah, Reece James and Chilwell I put out wide. And again, I don't know how much he likes Chilwell because he seems to prefer Kukureya's hair, so I don't know.
But what do you do in January? Because all that is great. And the army of scouts and sporting directors that they just brought on.
This is the key, right?
What do you do in January?
You brought in this enormous group of recruitment people and whatever. These guys are going to assess what Chelsea have. They're going to speak to Potter. It's a fine line. I think it's a very fine line because at some point, these guys, what people don't understand is these recruitment people, if they're good, they're not just people who execute, right? They're people who have their own opinions and are going to be self-advocates and they're going to advocate for their opinions.
Yeah.
Potter may feel differently. I know. Obviously, a couple of them are his own. You know, the guy Kyle and whatever. It's so tricky because if I'm, say, Vivell, right, and I can say, oh look, I have a chance to sign this, I don't know, this right wing back who's worth 80 million, and I can sign him for 15 million, but we need to sign him now.
Yeah.
And then you say, oh, but Reece James plays that position. He's like, oh, but he's an asset to the club. How is Bowley's mind going to think there, right?
Yeah.
So it's always a delicate balancing act. These guys have to make it work very, very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, what they do is finish top 4. They can't compete for the title. They can't win the Champions League, I think. I mean,
that's a big ask. That is a big ask because you've got Spurs, you've got Newcastle, you've got Manchester United.
Come back. Yeah,
and Liverpool may come back too.
Yeah. So what do you do in January? Because I think this is the urgency in January. Do you sign one player? Do you go for a top player? Do you go for someone who maybe can just bring something a bit more positive in midfield or up front? I mean, I don't know.
Honestly, I'm going to give you the boring.
You keep them and you keep your money for the summer?
I'll give you the boring answer. Your focus in January is moving on those players who still have some value.
Yeah.
Move them out of the club because it doesn't help to have Hakim Ziyech take up your time.
20 minutes he played this season in the Premier League, I think. Come on.
And we know he's a talented player and he could help 99% of clubs in Europe, right?
But why is he still doing in your club?
Because they don't know how to sell them. Because in the summer they didn't have anybody to sell them.
That is not true.
No, it's as simple as that. They did some of these ham-fisted when they tried to sell Ziyech. They tried to sell Pulisic.
If that's the case, it's worse than I thought.
Who knows? Maybe they'll just offer 100 million for Rafael Leao and be gone.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.